Let's move on and talk about Sofyan Amrabat of Fiorentina, a player that can't get into the Fiorentina scene, by the way. Ali Gold says Tottenham pair Conte and Paratici are both believed to like Amrabat. Guardians say Amrabat is Antonio Conte's preferred midfield option, which I don't buy for a second. L'Equipe say Amrabat to Tottenham is almost complete. And Romano says that Sofyan Amrabat to Tottenham is at an advanced stage, but not done deal yet. Antonio Conte and Paratici both want him. Spurs are waiting to complete Ndombele deal before Amrabat comes in with a loan with a buy option. The player's side is not a problem. He only wants Spurs because Spurs are his only option.
Yeah, obviously. Of course he wants Tottenham. He's on the bench for Fiorentina. No
I
one
laughed
wants
so
him.
hard when I saw that from Romano. It's like, he only wants Spurs. Yeah, he only wants Spurs because Spurs are his only option.
Apparently he played. Look, I didn't watch the game, but apparently he played for Morocco last night against Malawi in a 2-1 win. And from what some people were messaging me saying, we're having a keen eye on him, and they apparently looked very, very, very average. That's what they were saying. Take of that what you will. But we keep hearing reports that Paratici and Conte is their preferred option, which I can't believe that to be the case, surely.
Bullshit.
Yeah, it can't be the case.
Bullshit. If he was our preferred option, why is now the first time we're ever hearing about him?
I don't doubt that by all accounts, apparently at Hellas Verona, he was a very good player, and that's why he got a big move to Fiorentina, and it hasn't worked out since he got
Player of the Year in Serie A that year.
That was a few years ago, and I'm sure maybe
1920 season.
Maybe Paratici knew him from then, and maybe Conte knows him from when his time in Serie A last season, and maybe they do like him. I'm not going to say this guy is completely useless just because.
He can't get into the Fiorentina.
Yeah, right now. I don't know the circumstance. Apparently, it's not football related. I'm reading, and it's to do with other circumstances or whatever. But no way is he the preferred option. I don't believe that for a second. I do not, because if we were so desperate to get this guy in, if he was a number one target, we would have got him in right at the beginning of January. We would have been certain about it. Because this guy is not wanted by his club. No one else wants him. He's sitting on the bench. He's rotting away this season. There's no reason to wait to the end of January for this move. Adama Traore is a bit different. Wolves are using him. Wolves he's played a few games for them, even though we want to buy him. It's a bit different. For this guy, we could have easily got him in at the beginning of January. There's no reason to wait till the end of the window. It stinks of Levy and just Tottenham in general, waiting till the end of the window to make their moves, then scrambling around to see who's available. And what this guy comes about, maybe they've got an opportunity. Conte's like, look, I mean, if there's no one else, yeah, I'll take him, kind of thing.
That's the situation right there. That is the situation.
That's probably it. That's probably it.
He is not our number one target. The only reason they want him is because they know they're not getting anyone else.
Yeah,
that's the only reason.
So when it comes to preferred, when they say preferred target,
it's preferred to no one. Yeah,
exactly. That's what it is. That's the feeling I get. I don't believe for a second that Conte wants a player right now who hasn't played for 6 months pretty much, and he's struggling for form and struggling to get into the Fiorentina team, and hasn't had the best of time of it for the past couple of years. Why would he be desperate to bring that player in right now? It doesn't make sense to me. So it seems to me like. Just a transfer of convenience.
You're talking about a team who are 7th in Serie A, and this guy can't even get a start. He's had one start the whole season, limited to 10 sub-appearances the whole season. I mean, that's half their games only he's appeared in as substitute. That's only half the games. I mean, there is no chance this guy was anywhere near our number one target. The only reason they want him, like I said, is because they can't get anyone else, or they won't get anyone else. Mm-hmm. And it just stinks. The whole thing stinks. And I at the moment, it looks like this is the only guy that's close to coming in. And
it's the easiest deal to do.
And when you're taking Ndombele out of the squad and bringing him in, yes, fine, Ndombele doesn't have the attitude, but in terms of just quality of the player alone, I mean, bloody hell, that's a massive downgrade, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of ability, it definitely is. Obviously, by all accounts, this guy is a very solid. In terms of he works very hard. That's what everyone's saying. He's a very hard worker. He's not one of these players who's going to be a massive liability. Although he does make a lot of fouls, he's a player on the ball, likes to do a lot of pressures. He's apparently a very decent passer of the ball. He likes to progress the ball up. He likes to progress the play up from deep, which is maybe a player that we could use. But in terms of ability, we're losing so much ability in Ndombele. Obviously, it hasn't worked out with him and Conte. Conte doesn't want him, so fair enough. But we need to add proper ability
like
to the
same
team.
profile of player as Harry Winks or a Skip.
That's what they say. He's a cross between Højbjerg. Actually, I read an article saying he's a cross between Skip and Winks.
Well, there you go. I mean, with the same profile of what we have already got. You know what I mean? Why aren't we bringing in someone that that will add something to the squad, not something that we've already got?
Yeah, I don't know. One sec. What's going on here? So I'm just trying to send the link. I'm really not excited about this potential deal, and I'm hoping that it seems as though this is going to happen though, and maybe he can prove us wrong. Obviously I'm going to give him a chance. I'm not going to
He can, but everyone's saying it stinks of Stambouli, it stinks of Jedson Fernandez, and I'm sorry, but it does. It just seems as though it's the exact same kind of signing as those two guys.
It does. I mean, it clearly is. Clearly, I mean, that's obvious to me that he wasn't our first choice, and it's just an opportunity. Also, the agent, he's got he's got the same agent as Ben Davies or something, and that also could play into it. So it's frustrating that we're selling Lo Celso, Dele, and Ndombele and bringing him in, but this is where we're at the moment. When you'll leave it so late, this is what we're left with.
And especially as Newcastle look to get this Bruno Guimaraes over the line.
Even that, he's not even that expensive.
You know what I mean? How can Newcastle attract this player and we're going for this Sofyan Amrabat? This Amrabat is a player that I expect maybe Watford to sign. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like this Bruno Guimaraes is a proper top talent out of the French league in Lyon right now. And Arsenal have been interested in him. We've been linked with him in the past. And he's going to go to Newcastle, fighting for relegation. Surely we can do something there because he is a much, much bigger talent than this Amrabat guy is.
It depends how much money we're going to offer. That's the thing.
It comes down to, isn't it?
Yeah, look, also, let's not be around the bush. We're getting this guy on loan. There's no money involved in terms of a transfer fee. Maybe it'll be an option to buy, but there's no outlay. So maybe it's another that must, because when you say midfield preferred option, think about all the midfielders we can get right now on loan for no fee for 6 months with no transfer offer. So if Paratici's been given a budget, okay, you get a midfielder in, but you can't pay any money, then I'm sure he is the preferred option.
Why? I don't understand why we're not going for someone like Gigi Wijnaldum. That doesn't make sense to me on a loan deal for the rest of the season.
Maybe we are, but apparently he wants to stay. I don't know the ins and outs.
Well, anyway, look, we've got a special guest waiting for us.
Yeah, should we bring one now?
Yeah, seeing as we're on topic of Sofyan Amrabat, we've got a special guest, Mr. Jack Farr. He came and spoke to us a while back when Spurs were linked with Fonseca. Obviously, that never happened, so hopefully this doesn't happen as well. But let's see what he has to say about Sofyan Amrabat. Jack, how are we doing?
Good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, all good now.
Much better
Okay,
now.
good. I think my laptop might have been messing me up there, so here we are. I'm on the phone.
No worries. How are we today?
Yeah, very, very well. First of all, big congratulations on the 100K. That's a serious achievement.
Much.
So very impressive.
Thank you so much.
And just quickly before we start, you got Mourinho in charge. And you still have all your hair. How's things going?
Things are fine. I think, from our conversation last time, I think you guys will probably remember that, the problems at Roma run far deeper than the manager. So while Paulo Fonseca had a lot of my sympathies, Di Francesco had a lot of my sympathies, Mourinho also has a lot of my sympathies, and there are some bright sparks. So I'm staying optimistic.
Yeah, good. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of fire from Mourinho on the touchlines. I'm loving his interviews as well. But that's just what you get with Jose Mourinho. And you know what? I like seeing it from afar. I just didn't like seeing it within our own club, to be honest.
Right.
But let's talk about Sofyan Amrabat. Obviously, he's been heavily linked with Spurs. A lot of reliable sources saying the deal is very close to being done. What can you tell me about him? Because there's a lot of anxiety in the Spurs fan base about bringing him in. I mean, from what we know, we haven't seen him play a lot, but we know that he's not getting in the Fiorentina side. He's limited to very few substitute appearances. Only had one, start this season, but in the past he has been a very highly rated talent coming through. So what can you tell me about him?
He's a role player. I think this is the main kind of takeaway, and I know that's probably the last thing that you guys want to hear, but this is a guy, I think I mentioned this to you guys in DMs when we were chatting recently. The kind of player comparison I would use is somebody like Jordan Henderson. Jordan Henderson is not going to blow you away with, fantastic technical ability, tactical ability, or anything like that. He's a hard worker and he does a job. And if he's given instructions by somebody like Antonio Conte, you'd imagine he can fulfill that role. I think the appeal of somebody like Sofyan Amrabat to somebody like Conte, when Conte tells him to do something, he's probably going to do it down to kind of the finest details. Whereas somebody like maybe Lo Celso, maybe somebody like Tanguy and Ndombele, maybe they're not going to follow those instructions. Maybe they're going to be kind of more of a maverick. Whereas Amrabat, I think about him in that kind of military sense. He's a little bit of a soldier. If we're talking about Conte as the general, then I think Amrabat is just going to be one of his soldiers,
Yeah, and okay, that's fair enough. But why do you think why has it gone so wrong for him at Fiorentina of late? Why is he getting one start this whole season? I mean, I've heard it's not football related, but can you shed any more light as to what's happened there?
No, I mean, realistically, if we're kind of talking about the, I mention this often. I know it's kind of using American parlance somewhat, but if we talk about football in kind of a depth chart sense, if that makes sense, he just has like better players, who are around him. I mean, Lucas Torreira is a better player than Sofyan Amrabat. Somebody like Bonaventura is obviously a real kind of talisman for this Fiorentina team, and he is a better player than Amrabat. And then even some of the other guys, just looking here, you've obviously got role players who kind of fill in that third position. And one thing I think you guys mentioned before about why the deal hasn't been done yet, he is at the African Cup of Nations. And, I've not been watching him religiously in that tournament, obviously. I've not been watching that tournament religiously. But supposedly, I think this was Fabrizio Romano tweeting this, he's having a good tournament. So maybe that kind of piqued their interest there a little bit. But yeah, Joseph Alfred Duncan, comes in, makes the odd kind of appearances as well. Yusuf Maleh as well. These are a couple of African Italian type guys who've just kind of come through and retained some places. The main takeaway for me, those guys I've just mentioned, I guarantee like most of the people watching, maybe even you guys, haven't heard of. And if these guys are getting more appearances than somebody like Sofyan Amrabat, it's quite telling. I think if we're talking 8 to 10 million, then he's going to come off the bench and kind of do as he's told. I don't think you can shout at that in terms of value, but in terms of where Spurs want to be, I mean, fourth is there for you guys to take if you want it. It just depends if you want it or not. And Sofyan Amrabat is not a signing that is going to take that fourth position.
But I saw there was a graphic I saw on Twitter yesterday that in the ratings for Player of the Year, I think a couple of years ago, Amrabat for Hellas Verona finished third in the whole of Serie A for Player of the Year. So he clearly had a very good season. So is there a player there in him that could maybe be the player that we want him to be?
Not in my opinion. Purely because, you know, we talk about this a lot. The best goalkeepers in the world don't have the most saves because they play for the best teams, right? When you're a midfielder like Sofyan Amrabat, and your main kind of best traits and abilities are being a nuisance, right? Getting around the pitch, trying to disrupt the opposition from playing. Those are kind of traits that would suit Hellas Verona, right? They would suit a kind of lower level team who are trying to be dogged and are trying to get a result that they don't really deserve, you know, kind of like an underdog. If you're then moving up the ranks, you know, Fiorentina, okay, we're not talking about Juve here, but if we're moving up to a Fiorentina level, which is, you know, pushing for those Europa League spots year in and year out, you're going to be replaced by technically better football players, you know, a Bonaventura, Lucas Torreira. The exact same thing with Spurs. You know, we're not looking at some kind of dogged central midfielder that's needed here. You need a player with more quality, because as a better football team, you're going to be dominating the ball more. So, like I said, you can talk about a goalkeeper having a great year if they're, I don't know, Norwich's goalkeeper or Watford's goalkeeper because they make more saves. But we all know the better goalkeepers don't have to make as good a saves because they play for the better teams and they don't concede so many shots.
I mean, you telling us he's not as good of a player as Lucas Torreira, I mean, that definitely rings alarm bells. That definitely rings alarm bells. But when you're looking at the Spurs midfield, right, you're talking about Lo Celso and Ndombele, who can't follow the instructions of Antonio Conte. And they've got the kind of potential X factor going forward with their creative roles. But when you're looking at the midfield that we've got right now in Højbjerg, Skip, Winks, is he not a bit too similar to these kind of players?
He's a bit of a bigger man, so I want to say he's like 6'1", so he's a little bit more physically imposing. I think Højbjerg is absolutely nailed in. I think it's very clear to see that Conte loves Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, as I do. I think he's absolutely fantastic. But for Winks and you know, somebody like, I don't know, Oliver Skip as well, I just think that this is a very good cheap alternative to maybe build a foundation where he can rely on Højbjerg and one other, and then maybe somebody like Sofyan Amrabat can come off the bench and try and, you know, shore up a result. That would be my guess. I think as fans, we're always looking for the X factor guys, right? But if you're Antonio Conte, realistically, you're just trying to win football matches. And if you're trying to send on somebody and it's like, this is what I need you to do, and then on the pitch you don't see it, I think there's a great deal of frustration in that. What I would say to you guys is, if Amrabat comes in and starts, I would be amazed. I would be absolutely amazed. This to me just reeks of a guaranteed sub in nearly every single game to either, you know, shore up a result that's already there, or to cause some disruption and win the ball back and then let your attacking players flourish by kind of creating that foundation. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but I don't want to, you know, bleep all over this guy. But this is not the caliber of signing befitting of Tottenham Hotspur, even as a sub. Really, I mean, you know, you guys, I think, referenced it earlier. I think it's 1 start and 10 substitute appearances. Yeah, he's been away at the African Cup of Nations, but realistically, this guy has not really suffered tremendously with injuries. He's been available most of the time. There are just 3 or 4 midfielders who are getting in the team ahead of him right now.
And I know it's a deal that at this point looking unlikely to happen, but it looks like we were looking to get Frank Kessie in January, but it looks like that deal is going to be off, seeing as it appears that we agreed a deal with AC Milan, but his agent wants to wait till the summer.
Hasn't he agreed a deal with Barcelona?
Those are rumours. There's nothing concrete there, but how much of a coup would it be if Tottenham in the summer would get someone like Frank Kessie in for you?
Oh, unbelievable. This is one of the best, you know, this is one of the best, forget Serie A, this is one of the best midfielders in the world. You know, I think it's very easy, you know, maybe it's subconsciously racist, I don't know. But I think it's very easy to look at an African central midfielder and just picture this like destroyer, right? Frank Kessié is so much more than that. Frank Kessié is an intelligent football player, technically very, very, very sound. And he can do it all, incredible motor on him as well. You mentioned it already. Being linked with the likes of Barcelona is absolutely no shock to me. That would be a fantastic fit for Spurs and also for somebody like Antonio Conte. So if I was in their position, I'd be pushing for him very, very hard, certainly more than Sofyan Amrabat. But look, he's played well to deserve the interest from, no disrespect to Spurs, but these all-time elite clubs like your Barcelonas, Real Madrids, etc., etc. So it's no surprise to me that he'd be linked to these clubs. But it would shock me if that's not been a serious consideration for Antonio Conte and Fabio Paratici.
Yeah, well, look, thanks for easing our fears about Sophie and Amrabat. Not so much. No, but thanks for giving us some more insight that we wouldn't have. So, yeah, thank you for that. And I'd just like to say good luck for the remainder of the season with Jose Mourinho.
And a few people have been asking, by the way, if there's a YouTube channel they could find you on. You're more than welcome to go ahead and plug wherever you want to plug.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, as I mentioned to you guys, 100k subscribers is incredibly impressive. So I appreciate the opportunity to use your platform. Guys, Box to Box Football. It's me and my buddy James. We went to UCFB and studied. He did coaching and management. I did international football business at an undergraduate degree level, and we just talk all things football. Try and find things to disagree on. Tier lists, all this kind of good stuff. So yeah, Box to Box Football on YouTube. Thanks for the Roma support. I'm still kind of in the stages of just tempering my expectations and hoping in 2 years' time to be talking to you guys with a bigger smile on my face.
Well, best of luck, and best of luck for the Conference League as well. Now I can support Jose Mourinho because we're not in it anymore. So good luck to you guys, and thanks a lot for coming on.
Yeah, I'd rather not be in it. Thank you very much, you guys. See you next time.
See you, Jack. Great call from Jack, as always. Super chat here from Rob Wallace saying, I like this Jack. Far talks sense. Come on, you Spurs.
And if you want to subscribe, I've just posted the link to the YouTube channel in the chat. So go ahead and subscribe. Always talking sense, Jack, and always love having him on the channel.
Definitely. Great insight into the Italian league.